Welcome to game welcome to game 4 of the Australian National Div 2 Championships. This match we're looking at Outbreak Apocalypse from Adelaide versus DUFF Stout from New South Wales. So Outbreak to pull. Shantanu Malhotra with a pull from the right-hand side of the screen. Nice clean catch by the Stout. Offense and Outbreak Apocalypse putting on a zone look on the defense straight away. Stout player looks at the disc. It's a bit dodgy, might be a hold or a wobble in it, needs to be significant. So I eyeball that from my position in camera 1, it does have a bit of a bend in it. We'll be joined hopefully soon with Blair Monroe from New Zealand, who's been commentating some of our live streams in this Div 2 Championship today.
Hello, Phil. What a pleasure it is to be back with you. So we see DUFF Stout now trying to work through that Outbreak Apocalypse zone, as you pointed out.
Sounds of Rex Johnson. I'm the man behind the camera too, running around trying to fix all the bugs, trying to make everything work for you.
What an absolute delight it is to have you on board, Rex. Now, from what I understand, you have insight into this Apocalypse side. There's sort of a bit of familiarity there, so you might be able to provide it as to how they're going to do it against DUFF Stout. Great grab there by DUFF Stout as they continue to chip away at this zone. Just really smart controlled passes, but there's a clean interception
block there by
Apocalypse.
Nice big lofty throw to no one. The Scott Swart special.
Always a good thing when a handler sees that open space in a zone, but it's having the patience to wait until a receiver has made into that space before unholstering the throw, I think. A laser beam to center field comes off the hands. One of those really, really tough discs to catch. Quite often you'll hear people talk about giving the disc a bit of kindness. That same kindness was absent on that throw, just a little bit hard of a throw. Falls from the hands, giving Apocalypse a great opportunity to close out the first point of the game. Over the heads of two receivers there. So DUFF Stout with an opportunity to walk back up the field.
So Apocalypse not without their chances. Significant gusts of wind at the moment. Coming right to left of screen.
this DUFF Stout team is an outfit out of Darlinghurst in Sydney. They were a Masters team lined up to play the cancelled Masters tournament, but it's good to see them having a run around here at this tournament here. It's great to be out playing Ultimate again.
And it's one of those things as well, when you have a team that is drawn from that Masters experience, they typically don't have the same athleticism or fitness as some of the younger teams in the club scene, but they quite often make up for it with very, very clinical, technical frisbee, which again is what we're seeing them from them, rather, as they try and work through this apocalypse zone defense.
Yeah,
So
if I'm looking for teams to throw it in the wind as Masters age participants.
So they're just getting checked in. 6 minutes without a score so far. Again, just trying to force those narrow channels. A lot of room for error.
Don't be surprised if there's a huck.
Great breakthrow there, just kept off the turf.
There it goes.
But again, that same downwind that we've seen in games so far, that right to left is adding a lot more speed to those downwind hucks. And it's making it, we've seen so many turnovers happen off those overthrown passes in that direction, because the wind is just carrying them outside the reach of the receiver. We're not seeing teams do a great job of adapting to those conditions.
Trying to do everything.
DUFF Stout from New South Wales trying to work around the zone, being forced into some very close quarters ultimate by this great apocalypse defense. And so DUFF have come into this with 2 wins ahead, both going to 15, so putting some great pressure on their opposition. 15-8 against Ironbark, 15-5 against Kronk. Outbreak 1-1 against Ikigai Ultimate, 11-9, and a loss to Ironbark, 11-12. So DUFF Stout having put a great performance against a team like Ironbark, who were able to narrowly put one over Outbreak Apocalypse. It's an interesting thing because it doesn't directly translate to
Outbreak seemingly letting
ABB.
Throw these meter throws closer and closer to this upwind end zone. We're hitting the 10-minute mark, nearing the 10-minute mark. And still no score.
Very close to the red zone now for DUFF Stout.
Unlike the normal Outbreak I've seen, they choose the holster going downwind, string a few passes together.
I still can't.
Not the worst outcome. DUFF has to work the whole field again.
So I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Stout work at the majority of the field once more. The question is, can they capitalise when they get to the other end in the red zone? At the moment, with the Apocalypse Zone defense, the only thing that they're not doing well that I can see is they're over-committing on a lot of those pops, which opens up the short throw to another person.
Yeah, they really were working hard to try and limit that upfield movement while still giving them those 1 metre throws. And they get another turn.
Andy Baddock's look for something, zips that down the line, calls it a goal.
Going to use this opportunity to throw my fellow teammate Hong under the bus. Look at that great play. Obscured by the sideline man being a bit too close.
So the score now going 1-0, Outbreak Apocalypse over Duff Stout. Their zone defense doing a great job of eventually generating enough turns and enough momentum to put one in the end zone for them. Just to clarify, that score on screen might be something that
Yeah, we have a technical
we'll fix for you in
issue,
just a
sorry.
moment. So a very, very short pull there, and the wind the wind turning that one into a freedom frisbee as it rolls well past the ability for any Outbreak player to stop that momentum. So a great opportunity for Duff to put one on their own of the board, one of their own on the board rather. And we'll see if there it is, a great isolation play for Duff Stout to tie up the game, a point they'll be very, very happy with. That Chile offense just able to secure that point and not having to do a lot of running on that one either, which is always a bonus for those master squads who maybe want to conserve their bodies, particularly as we are looking at a 3-day tournament.
An interesting point to note is the difference in the time that it took Outbreak to score the downwind point versus the time it took Duff Stout to score it being a Masters team.
Absolutely. So experience need not fear the strength of youth in this instance. Putting up about a 13-minute point for the young South Australian side versus a matter of seconds for Duff Stout, just capitalizing on those changing conditions. That wind gusting up, really interfering with that pull. Not only did it fall short of halfway, but immediately took back off downfield to stop just in front of the offensive end zone. That is how you pull upwind. The Masters team showing the breadth of their years on field. Apocalypse sending a big rip. Lefty backhand downfield to a wide open receiver. Second point goes on the board for them, 2-1.
And the Outbreak Boys are happy with that one. It's very obviously clear that the downwind score is much more obtainable. Let's see how Outbreak goes with their next upwind attempt. Sorry about the noises you can hear. We're just coordinating a break for our cameraman. The schedule's pretty tight today. A big shout out to Joanne McKellar on giving us a 10-minute break. And Phil's just going to have a nice little lie down and relax and help cool this game a bit further.
So again, the huge benefits of being a remote commentator from New Zealand. I've been sitting down most of the day. But it's important to recognise the hard work and fantastic effort put on by the team at Aussie TV and all of the volunteers who have brought you this wonderful streaming experience and are really showcasing the very best ultimate in the Division 2 Australian scene. So Outbreak Apocalypse, big upwind pull. Falls a little short again, that little bit of edge, it drives it down to ground. DUFF Stout with an opportunity to close this one out again. We know they can do it. We've seen them do it before. But we are seeing the Apocalypse side come down in a zone, trying to force the disc on the backhand side, near sideline. It's one of those interesting things when you're playing against a Masters level player, a player who's got 10, 15 years of experience with the disc. You have to respect every single fake that they make because you know that they've got the throw that they are showing you, whether it's a scuba, a high release backhand, low release, hammers, anything. Those fakes have to be respected a lot more than you typically see with younger players, just as a consequence of that experience. And so we're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of biting in that defensive cup, but it is a function of the throwing confidence that we're seeing on this DUFF Stout side.
The wind continues to pick up here.
Chips one over the top, threads it through. A great slide and a great score there for DUFF Stout as they go 2-2 against South Australia's Outbreak Apocalypse. We are seeing a lot of downwind scores here, the easiest score to make. And as that wind picks up, it's going to make working the disc upwind that much more difficult. So the pull coming to ground just past halfway. We're seeing Duff come down a zone as well. That more arrowhead style. So one player typically referred to as a puppy who's chasing the disc. And then as that disc movement happens, that zone breaks down a little bit. We've got 3 players from the Apocalypse side who are able to act as comfortable and safe receivers. Great score there.
Good
Cheeky
patience.
celebration as Apocalypse go up by 1, 3-2 over Duff Stout.
Yeah, good patience there by the Apocalypse handlers as they swing the disc left to right, right to left. Managed to find an open receiver on the near side.
See that again? That's the peril of playing against a lefty. There's always that little bit of confusion as they can throw, or they'll be throwing opposite to what you're used to marking. And we saw that beautiful left forehand just swing out to the near sideline to an open receiver, and going from there to a quick continuation as that cut across the front of the end zone gets the score on the board for Apocalypse.
That's a better pull by Apocalypse into the wind. As Apocalypse put the zone look on again. Stout boys moving the disc upfield relatively easily. Minor drag of the back foot there on that throw, but that goes out. The question is whereabouts it went it out. Nice cheeky over the top. Wind's going to take that, I feel, a bit further than he wanted. And yet another downwind score, this time Stout.
So great work by Duff, pinning the Apocalypse side down in their own end zone, applying that zone pressure, creating a window, baiting that throw for a clean interception. 2 passes then to close that out for a point of their own as we keep the game tied at 3-3.
Key is going to be in who can break the upwind curse.
Absolutely. The first team to really score an upwind break, or a point rather, is going to find themselves in a great spot because so far we're seeing defensive teams working upwind. If they can get that upwind break, it puts them ahead in this instance, and it also gives them a downwind break on the next point as well. So you work hard to get in to start with, and then you don't have to work as hard to get your next defensive break.
Stout working it up the field nicely. Just really using composure and patience. That throw goes up. And we were talking about that only a moment ago. Stout players run on the field. They're liking it. They know what this upwind point means as far as the outcome of this game goes. So Stout get the first upwinder to make it 4-3 to them. If they continue the trend of the downwind points, they'll always have that break. So now pressure, full pressure on Outbreak Apocalypse to score upwind.
Absolutely. It really is one of those crucial things. So we can hear the wind picking up. And so this is a great opportunity here for Stout to widen up that gap, to use their experience on the field and in the wind. We see that same zone.
Haven't really shown that they've got the capacity to work it upfield. Baddock's giving it a go.
That's the one.
Work out for them.
That's what we were looking for.
That's a call made.
There was a lot of bodies going the same direction. I think Outbreak's calling dangerous play. He pulled out of it. I saw a nod of the head by one of the Stout boys involved in that. It's contested. It's going back either way.
Following the upwind break to put 2 points between them and their opposition.
There's a hand on that.
Back-to-back hand blocks, that's what you love to see. This is a really important point from Outbreak.
Ooh. Had a feeling that Andy actually had set his foot to play that from that point in the end zone, but not picked up on that, walks it to the front either way. Wanting players in spaces as they point.
This is the most capacity that Outbreak's shown to string a few upwind throws together. Good
Just
signs.
missing that next one.
Good signs for the rest of the game.
That's going to come out over the sideline. Bring into play quickly. Catches the Outbreak defense snapping. Can see you want something big. The thing is here, if Stout do get this point, and it looks like they do, there is almost no pressure on them to score another upwinder, which actually works in their favour.
Yeah, the ball's really an Outbreak sport. If they want to win this game, they have to put in the effort over the next couple of points.
Now, it's fun. It's funny that you guys mentioned that, because in our recent New Zealand Division 2 mixed Ultimate Championships, we had a similar thing. We had horrific, huge amounts of wind. And in the grand final, a team managed that same thing, that upwind break followed by the downwind break. Did incredibly well to do that. And the other team came back with 2 breaks of their own to tie the game, and then another 2 breaks to put themselves up by 2. So there's precedent for everything. And we've talked earlier about the importance of never taking the foot off the pedal, regardless of how much of a lead you may have. Even though the wind is playing as an extra defender, even though the wind is having an impact on every single throw, it's putting the margin for error is making it that much smaller.
Really appreciative of you tuning in today. Just want to set the scene of what I'm up to. I'm working the sideline camera, as you see. Got 2 headsets on my head. Got my toe on the mute button. Pressing all the buttons to make the gear work. It's lovely to be here, bringing you Frisbee. We'll make it happen for you.
Yeah, interesting story there, Blair.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise, actually. The team that started with the upwind break ended up losing over the end. And it was a really, really closely contested game, but it just goes to show that it's still anyone's game until the final point is scored. Great reception there. And then just trying to move that pace a little quickly generates the turn for DUFF Stout.
Good flow, good movement from Stout. Quick hands. No stall count, above 2 or 3. And as I said before, there's absolutely no pressure on Stout to score the upwinder, which actually makes it easier for them to do so. So now Stout with a commanding 2 upwind point lead, 6-3.
So the only team to have scored upwind in this game is DUFF Stout. So far, everything else has been downwind points. Another downwind point here puts them up by 4. A great showing, considering the performance that they've had coming into this match on the back of 2 wins. Apocalypse, their path ahead very, very clear. They cannot afford to concede another break if they want to stay in this game.
Absolutely.
A 4-point lead.
Scotty Swore on the Outbreak team. He's their leader, coach, player. Outbreak, they will not want to fumble this. That was a definite throw. So they get one back. How did you see that, Blair?
Still, I absolutely did. Just great clinical offense, that good patience that we haven't really seen from them before when working upwind. So really nice movement, really good adapting to the conditions there. Just great control of the disc, recognizing those open receivers in the zone. An upwind hold, not as nice as an upward break, but they're now in a position of their own to get that downwind break, which might tighten the score up just that little bit, put them back within one.
Yeah, they needed that to give them the confidence that they could get that upwind break. Now they've just got to keep that confidence, and it'll put a little bit of doubt in the mind of DUFF Stout, although they're experienced enough with their mental game, DUFF Stout, to not let that affect them as much as it possibly would the Outbreak team. But nonetheless, it's good to see we've had 3 upwind points so far in the last few minutes of this match. So they're definitely available for anyone who wants to grind them out, wants to put the effort in, both mental concentration and skill-wise.
Now, Phil, we mentioned in an earlier game the sort of often touted stereotype of how good it would be to have an ordinary person trying to run the 100 meters in the Olympics for a sense of comparison against someone like Usain Bolt. And considering the strength of wind that we're seeing here, just getting a couple of volunteers off the street to try and throw a frisbee around for a few minutes, we'd see just how difficult and what level of skill is required to make those upwind breaks.
Yeah.
Beautiful pull there to force DUFF to start by playing out of their own end zone in a great layout block for a turnover, uncontested. That's exactly what the Apocalypse need. But tries to do too much. The conservation of greatness is here.
Yeah. Upwind number 4, number 3 for Stout, 4 for the game.
Great score there. Putting them within 1 point of taking half.
A lot of fire in the belly there for Outbreak. Might be a little bit too late, but it's good to see they're up and about, getting some blocks, putting their bodies out.
So we are at the 40-minute mark of this game. The bad news for Outbreak Apocalypse is that they will start the game at the downwind end, meaning they'll have to move it upwind, whereas DUFF Stout will come out with the downwind point, starting at the upwind end.
Great pull, fielded well by Apocalypse. And then overthrown to generate a turn. Or thrown behind the receiver, rather. Important to respect the speed of one's teammates. As DUFF Stout take half, Duffman with the score. 8-4 now over South Australia's Outbreak Apocalypse. Really great start for the Masters level squad. And as you said, Phil, they're going to have a great advantage coming into the second half, coming out on offense on that upwind side. But until then, my name is Blair Munro, the unofficial voice of New Zealand Ultimate, working with the team here at Ulti TV and my colleagues in the box, Rex and Phil Shields. We will be back with you very, very shortly after that halftime break.
Welcome back to the second half of this match. Apocalypse Outbreak versus DUFF Stout.
DUFF Stout having taken the first half of the game 8-4 as we hit the 46-minute mark in our 90-minute game, the fourth game of the day for our first day of the Division 2 Australian Ultimate Championships in beautiful Canberra. And as you pointed out, Phil, the advantage goes currently to DUFF Stout, not only for being up by 4 points, but being in a position where their opponents, the Outbreak Apocalypse, are having to work upwind against the wind, something they have managed to do, but not as consistently as the New South Wales side.
Second upwinder for Outbreak Apocalypse. As they narrowed the gap.
Great score. And a great score to start the second half of the game. To remind DUFF Stout, yes, you might be 4 points up. Yes, you might have more upwind points than us. But we are not giving up. We are not yet done. And it's a fantastic thing to see something like that, to see a team respond with such fire and intensity out of the first half. Despite being down by a few, there's a big psychological advantage to be gained from scoring the first point of the second half for that exact reason, to re-establish yourself, to reset the pace, to build a bit of momentum and come out firing for the later stages of the game.
That's also worth noting the weather here. During that point, the breeze did die significantly. It is still quite light.
But really, that's the key thing, is that the team that's able to adapt to the conditions, to recognize changes in the conditions, is the team that's going to put on the best performance for us today. So the score is now 8-5 Outbreak Apocalypse. As they fire off a big downwind pull.
Mr. Malhotra. Also a shout out to Rose who's tuning in. We love you.
Great zone offense there by DUFF Stout, working past the aggressive defense from the Outbreak Apocalypse. Trying to go over the top of the zone, but the reflexes are there to generate that turn, giving Outbreak an opportunity to fire off a big shot downwind, knowing they've got the youth and the experience, or the youth and the athleticism, rather, to get that separation. Instead, opting for a shorter gainer pass.
Great work here from the man in the pink hat, Mr. Bryn. Big call. The disc goes back to Malhotra.
Tries to fire one up the line.
Stout DUFF putting on the camouflage straight in front of that thrower.
Great disc movement on display by Duff Stout. Nearly there. Just keeping the disc moving. And there's the window. Finds it, secures it. Puts the 9th point on the board for Duff Stout. Again, up by 4. The wind having dropped out. Those upwind points not being so difficult to come across, even though the wind still looks to be in place. It's settled down just enough to give the Duff Stout side a lot of an easier time to work that disc up against the wind.
Still a lightish wind here, right to left. Definitely for this veteran team, it won't be worrying them.
We can hear the wind picking up again.
That gives you the indication of what's happening during this point.
Slow engagement by the reset handler there. And the Duff Stout side are going to use it very, very close to the end zone. 15 meters out from a score. Slowly being pushed back by the oppressive person defense put on here by Outbreak Apocalypse, but they chipped through anyway. A lefty forehand to the near sideline. But it goes wide. So a total of 14 points being played so far. We're looking at roughly 56 minutes, which tells us at about 4 minutes average per point. A far cry from the first. There it goes as we go 10-5. So an average of 5 minutes per point during this game, which is a far cry from the initial stages where we saw Outbreak Apocalypse take nearly 13 minutes to put their first point on the board. And after the wind came up and interfered with the pull, we saw Duff Stout answer with a very, very quick score. So it's nice that both teams are applying enough defensive pressure that it stretches those points out. We're going to see the value of experience and calm, game day strategy, game day mentality, and how that impacts how well these teams perform.
can see in the background of the trees, the wind's pretty steady again. Duff doing a great job, showing they've got the capacity to play in these conditions. Expecting them to go deep into this tournament.
Great pull into the wind there by Duff Stout. Fielded well by Apocalypse, who quickly initiate an offense downfield. Coming out in a horizontal stack, so sticking to some pretty conventional cutting patterns to find space. Doing a great job of cycling the disc around, having to go to ground to keep it in possession, but it's a small price to pay. Overthrow from the defensive pressure by Duff Stout gives them a long field to work back up to put their 11th point on the board and against the wind. So a timeout has been called there.
That's a veteran call there. Game's getting long. We've done enough. Let's just run the clock down until we can finish the last few points off.
So 5 points down. Outbreak Apocalypse, we're seeing their timeout. They're trying to keep that energy back up. We're seeing that sort of team mentality, trying to get everyone back on board, trying to say, hey, yeah, we're down, but we know we can put those upwind points on there as well. We're younger, we're fitter, we're more athletic, we've got that aggression. We can pull this game back. As we close out the first 60 minutes of this 90-minute game, rather. Currently a game to 15. As they break the huddle. The more experienced, more mature Duff Stout squad probably more reliant on that timeout to catch their breath a little bit.
Yeah, definitely would have helped them a little bit.
There is the big shot turning over straight into the waiting hands of the hungry Apocalypse defense.
Yeah, beautiful work by Matthias Rusher there.
And so, in that downfield with the downwind,
Monster effort there.
Saved to Callahan.
a foul on the mark there. Another veteran. Let's reset the stall count. It's getting a bit high. No cuts downfield.
Take your time, but Jack doesn't need time to throw that inside throw to score.
They're happy about that. Yeah, Jack was a late inclusion to the team this time. He'll probably be a force to be reckoned with from South Australia in years to come.
Only 4 points in it. Outbreak can come back. If they put the afterburners on, play sensibly or not. They just need to make sure that they reel in all their grabs. Bringing that one back.
Great work there by Duff Stout.
I feel the momentum, the energy in that point at least has faded from this younger Outbreak side.
And if we get to see that again in the replay, we'll see the benefit of that kind of experience on the field. As this point closes out, you can watch the defender looks the wrong way to try and track his off-ending player. So rather than turning towards the disc, he started to turn away. That created that opening for that great cut to the front end of the end zone for a comfortable score for Duff Stout.
It's been a pleasure having you here commentate with us, Blair. We're very appreciative of your time and would be quite lost without you, so thank you very much.
No, again, I cannot stress enough just how much of a pleasure it is to be here. The Fred Flintstone's twinkle toes on the pool there. But what an absolute pleasure it has been. I've been very, very fortunate to commentate quite a few games in my time. I'll never turn down an opportunity to talk about this sport, particularly when it's played at this level. It's absolutely fantastic to see, and I could not be happier to be here to discuss this with you. What a great bid, but a second too late. Great effort there to try and keep that in Stout possession, but doesn't come away. We see Stout playing out of that defensive zone, or possibly a person defense with just very relaxed handler defense.
Yeah, game's getting a little bit scrappy as we head towards the time cap. Good defensive efforts from both teams.
Absolutely. 23 minutes left in it. 5 points difference. Not an insurmountable barrier by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly a difficult one.
Especially if this wind continues to pick up and then die down for the next upwind point.
Great run through, and that's one of the it's ultimate 101. Always attack the disc. As soon as you slow down your approach, a defender is going to be right on your shoulder. They're going to be able to knock that one away. It's not the kind of mistake you'd expect to see a side like DUFF Stout making. And that's a comfortable finish to that point for Apocalypse as they bring it back to a 4-point game. A little more than 20 minutes left before he hits soft cap.
Yeah, Jack Donaldson there to Kaglabosen. Grimace on his face, but he's loving every minute. He's got fans on the sideline, fans in the stream. Doing a great job, Chuggy. Malhotra here, given the difficult task of the upwind pull. He's a good addition to this Apocalypse squad after playing with the Mountain team for the last couple of years. Was a star player when they played March Madness a month ago.
So it's a little bit further than halfway. A great chase by the Apocalypse side. Let them set up their defense before the DUFF Stout gets to set their offense. Threading through, quick turnover. This is what Apocalypse wants, sending the big shot up. Curves back in the wind, but the receiver gets underneath it. Follows with a second. Goes up over the top. Puts the roof on him. An absolute rinsing on that point as Outbreak Apocalypse put another one on the board, going 8-11 against DUFF Stout. Only 3 points in it now. The clock running down.
Yeah, a bit of fire in the belly is what Outbreak needs, but DUFF can sense that and they've called a timeout, trying to stop this momentum. Have another look at that score. Nice few passes strung up the field. Mr. Harley Smith's pretty happy about it.
I think anybody would be happy with a point like that.
As am I, being from South Australia myself. There's some slight bias for the Outbreak boys. Hope we can see another upwind break or two to finish out this game.
during that timeout. The APOC boys trying to keep their energy levels up with a big cheer.
And so, again, we're seeing, particularly as that wind starts to fire up, a great point there for Apocalypse, as they now have the wind at their back coming down on defense. So this could be what they need to bring it back to a 2-point game.
Well, that was a reflex grab there to save something from going out the back.
Great cover by Apocalypse.
Bit of an ankle tweak there for Bozan. Hope he's alright. Getting supported off the field by the Duff boys. Good spirit on display. As the time ticks over the 75-minute mark, we've got 5 more minutes of regular gameplay before we finish as a soft cap. Outbreak getting a lot of opportunity to score this downwind.
And it's exactly what they're looking for. But so much pressure from the Duff defense.
I think there's been a stall called on the mark. Probably have a chat about what that means. And the contested signal from Jack Hall. Believes he got it out before the T of 10 has sounded.
So just a reminder for the folks watching at home, players in possession of the disc can hold it only for 10 seconds as counted by the player responsible for marking them. So as Rex correctly pointed out, it's the first T of 10. If that has been uttered before the disc is released from the thrower's hand, that is a stall, which, if uncontested, constitutes a turnover. So the argument being that the disc had been released before that T of 10 was made. And so we'll see how those players resolve that call before play resumes.
Yeah, and the rush
An
throw
absolute
results.
An absolute heat show on that disc.
And a bit of a grumpy bump on the mark. Pressure's on. Game's drawing near the end.
Great defense there, and the momentum carrying the disc back downfield about 8 meters or so out from their offensive end zone. Apocalypse with a great opportunity here to bring it back within 2 before we hit soft cap. Puts one over the top. Defensive, great positioning there to box out, make that play a little bit harder to make.
And there was an initial foul call, which was retracted. Good spirit there.
Long shot doesn't see results for Stout. Possession going back to Apocalypse. In line with the brick mark, 18 meters away from a score. Needing something to develop downfield. A long one, a lot of float. Not enough time to get to it.
The flick up there from Scott Swart, the Outbreak coach, captain of Div 2. He's put in a lot of effort this season, and we're appreciative of him. Just hearing the echoes of a three-handler vert from Duff.
What a great cut in that deep space, immediately turning into a sharp undercut that brought the defender and kept possession before a turnover, giving Apocalypse a 10 meter, maybe 15 meter path to a point. Right on the doorstep. Tough throws in the wind, struggling to keep it together. 30 seconds away from cap, so we will play out this last point. We will add 1 to the highest score, and it'll be a flat race to that number.
Yeah, I'm just hearing the whistles in the background, so cap has been called. What you're saying is correct.
Duff score right on the end. Wanting to make it 12-8, so they are 1 point away. Their opponent's 5 points away from victory. An Apocalypse score here, making it 3 points. But there it is. Great work by Duff Stout.
Yeah, they've just shown that they're comfortable putting those shots up. Getting the results they need time after time. Great effort, Duff.
So for the Master Squad, having taken both of their previous games to 15, to be held here by Outbreak Apocalypse is a fantastic result for the younger South Australian side. Regardless of the outcome of the game, either they hand Duff Stout their first loss of the tournament, or they push them further than any team has done all day. But it is a game to 13. Duff Stout, with the wind at their backs, a great opportunity here for them to pour on that defensive pressure to close this one out quickly. If they can generate the break here, they're at a good position to quickly put a long shot downwind. They know they can probably read the wind a little bit better. They've started to adapt to it. We might see that precision necessary to have those deep shots come off with the wind at their backs.
Yeah, I love a fairy tale ending as much as the next guy, but even I am admitting this task is insurmountable.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say insurmountable, Rex. It's only over when the last point is scored, although it does look like this last point might go to Duff Stout. A quick break.
Oh.
And there you have it. Sending a big shot up. Great work there to keep that in Apocalypse possession. Quick reset, not losing too much ground on that one. Hoping to work around the defense.
Perhaps I just need to keep the seeds of doubt in the air, and they'll continue to prove me wrong. Inventive dump pass.
So Andy Baddock's really controlling this point at the moment. Knew his receiver, Harley Smith, and put the long bomb up. That last one into space with enough float for his dump handler to receive it, showing some veteran moves.
Sends the big shot to midfield. Fielded comfortably. Continuation, but overthrown. Not quite. There it is. Great running again, as I called. Me being from the future, 2 hours ahead, knowing how the game was going to go. DUFF Stout, they were going to be the ones who were going to adapt to the conditions better to be able to control the flight of the disc in that wind, to put a long shot up to a receiver to get it. We see that happening here. Quick return to the disc to keep it in position on that far sideline, sending a floaty pass out in front, trusting the receiver, knowing the receiver's speed. We could see that little bit of bobble there to keep it up, but it is pulled down as DUFF Stout go 13-8 over Outbreak Apocalypse. A fantastic game. As I'm known for saying, apparently now you may have paid for the whole of your seat, but you are only using the edge of it. A great result for DUFF Stout as they go 3-0. Outbreak Apocalypse now 1-2 for their first day of the game, but still hold their heads up high. They pushed DUFF Stout further than any team has in this competition so far. For this, the fourth game of the first day of the Australian Ultimate Championships Division 2 in beautiful sunny Canberra. Until next time, my name is Blair Munro. I've been here with Phil Shields and Rex Johnson, and we will see you again shortly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Blair. All the best.